Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Align Love podcast. I have a very special guest today, and my special guest is Julie Soloman. Julie is a personal branding coach, best-selling author, and chart-topping podcast host, and has been empowering lives for over 15 years through her in-demand classes and masterminds. With a background in public relations for some of the world's most influential music acts and thought leaders, she launched her online courses and coaching mastermind in 2016, mentoring thousands of leaders and creatives around the world. Her passion is helping women turn their message into a movement, and she also empowers entrepreneurs and creatives to successfully build, grow, and scale their businesses. She has recently been named one of the top 100 leaders in influencer marketing. Her and her work has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Business Weekly, Business Insider, Success, and many other outlets. She is also the author of the best-selling book, Get What You Want: How to Go From Unseen to Unstoppable. We're going to be talking to her today about how she balances such a successful career with her personal life. She also has a husband and kiddos at home, and I cannot wait to dive into this conversation. So let's jump right in. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like this has been a long time coming, that we've been in each other's worlds for a long time, and now we get to be here, which is exciting.
I know. I'm so excited. And we're going to have to do another podcast episode in person.
Yes, I know. Because usually I can't do them because I'm not in the same city as the other person, but we are. So we need to make this work.
We need to make it work because we're so close. So close, but yet so far. I feel like the Nashville community of coaches and people who are in the personal development space has grown so much in the last 5 years. And so I love being able to have that personal connection too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about some really fun and exciting things today. You are an absolute expert. I just read your bio, so everybody has heard it at this point. You are an expert at branding and really building your own personal brand and the ability to be visible to the world. I know that that is your bread and butter in helping women in that space. And this is a dating and relationship show. So I know that we're going to bridge the gap on how important it is to have a sense, because I think it's important to have a sense of your own personal brand, whether it's out in the world or not, when you decide to date and get into a relationship. And we're also going to kind of talk about how you balance your current career and being a mom and being a wife. But can we dive a little bit into how you made your way into personal branding and why you feel like it is important for people to be visible and to have their own sense of a personal brand, whether they're out in the public eye or not?
Yeah. So I think I came by this idea of visibility and personal brand pretty honestly when you look at my career track record, and then I'll kind of get into some personal stuff. So I have a major in journalism. I have a double major in journalism and mass communications with a minor in marketing. I knew very early on that I wanted to be in this world of communications and whatever that looked like. And right after college, I immediately went into the world of PR. So I was a publicist for many, many years before I got into the online education and coaching space, which now really helps people create the same things that I was helping clients create in the traditional PR landscape for years. And so I come by it really honestly with my background, with my accreditation, with my passion, and really just my experience. I'm really, really good at what I do when it comes to helping people become more visible and being able to figure out how to effectively articulate that out. And I think the reason why I was so passionate about that for so long is because I didn't feel that myself for the better part of my entire life and on until my adult life. It really wasn't until my 30s that I started to feel worthy enough to be seen and worthy enough to have a purpose that not only mattered to me, but could actually create impact in the world. And so looking back on it, I think that it was really funny that I became a publicist because they are always the ones that are behind the scenes dressed in all black. They're like the shadow, behind these big magnetic light forces. And I also married an actor who is a big magnetic light force, and so it was really interesting. Some of the the choices that I made that definitely were meant for my path. But I think that there was a part of me for a very long time that just didn't feel worthy to be seen. I didn't feel worthy to be heard. I didn't think that my voice mattered. I didn't think that I was really enough. And it wasn't until I started giving myself the permission to do that and really allow myself to be seen that I was able to create more of an impact for the people that I was really meant to serve. And so that's really how I went into the online space and found kind of my place, if you will. And now I'm able to do what I've always done, but do it in a way that feels way more aligned and way more authentic and really just way more powerful, because I own the very thing that I didn't think I was worthy of for so long.
That's so big. And I resonate deeply with that too. And a lot of the women that I serve will come to me, and, it's interesting because when you create, let's just take dating profiles for example, when you create your own dating profile, in a lot of ways, you're creating for some women the first space where they can truly be seen. Outside of hiding behind something. And I think that what you just highlighted is so important, that most people who are in the space of wanting to be visible, whether that's through a dating app or they want to build some sort of personal brand online and create a movement, you have to be able to do that deep inner work to know I'm worthy of this. Like, I'm worthy of being able to show up on this app and really be my authentic self and be visible. And I think that there's just a lot of overlap between what you teach, not just entrepreneurs, but women who are out in the dating world and getting their dating apps for the first time and creating those profiles. There's a lot that can be taught there about doing that inner work as well.
Yeah. And I think that was really the catalyst for the business that I have now. So to give you a little bit more of my personal background, I've been married once before. I've been married to my husband for 10 years, 11 years. We've been together for 12.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We have 2 beautiful children. But this is my second marriage and it's my husband's third. So we both came to the table with some baggage. And it wasn't until I really rooted into this relationship and found so much safety and stability in this relationship, because I found safety and stability in myself, that I was actually able to be seen. I was actually able to build the business that I've always wanted. I was actually able to start being supported by other women and just friendships that I always longed for so long. And so I really do see the synergy and really the catalyst of what it means to be in healthy relationship with yourself and healthy relationship with your ideal partner. And I've also seen the other side of that, of when those relationships aren't healthy and how that can, manifest into so many aspects of your life. And so the way that I really approach that when it comes to brand is that once you allow yourself to be fully seen and you really start honoring that worth, that just inherent divine right worth to be seen. It is your birthright to be seen. It is your birthright to be heard. It is your birthright to really get what you want out of life, and to make no bones about that. And how that relates to brand is that really, I think the definition of brand equals reputation. It is the perception that people have of whatever it is that you throw at them. And so whether that's on a dating app, as you said, or, on a first date, or on your Instagram bio, as long as that's corralled mostly to where you want it to go, you're going to be good to go. But if it's not corralled, and if there's confusion, if there's hesitancy, if there's this little bit of yourself that doesn't actually believe in what it is that you're putting out there, people can feel that energy. Yeah. And so that's really where I think that when you're looking at relationships, when you're looking at getting out there, when you're looking at those things, they are all connected with that idea of really making sure that you are crafting and honing what you want that reputation to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. I mean, you're really touching on authenticity and integrity. And a lot of people think that they know what that is, but until they actually sit down and they have to create an extension of themselves, whether that's through a personal brand or creating a dating app profile. That can feel, it can feel nuanced. It can feel scary when people do that for the first time. So I'm curious, it's funny too. I always say that I've always had a business coach. I'll always have a business coach. And I laugh because my personal branding and my business coach in a lot of ways is, I consider them part of my therapy team for this very reason, because they're always redirecting me back to authenticity, back to integrity. So I'm curious, where can someone start with that? If they're looking to build their dating app profile, or they're looking to tap into deeper levels of authenticity to really bring forward visibility and their true selves, what do you suggest that they do to begin that process?
To me, the first thing is always the messaging. So messaging is the foundation of how you communicate your value, your worth, what you feel is important, what you hope to persuade others to feel is important. So if your messaging is unclear or misaligned, everything else will suffer.
Yeah.
I also believe, I think it was Brene Brown that said, clear is kind. And if you confuse people, you'll lose people. And so that's why the foundation of how you communicate your value is so important. Clear messaging is so important. It doesn't have to be over the top, ethereal, too much, too little, whatever that means. It just needs to be really clear in communicating that value and that integrity piece. So that's the first piece.
Yeah.
The second piece is positioning, really ensuring that you are seen as the person that you're wanting to be seen as. And when I think about this in the lens of a dating app, really positioning based on what it is that you want right now. If you're looking for a long-term partner, position your messaging as that.
Yeah.
Make it clear. If you're not looking for long-term, if you're just getting out of the dating scene after being married for a decade and it's so foreign and you're like, what is this dating app? What's happening here? Position it that way.
Right.
I think that you owning what that position is, it ensures that people see you authentically as you are. And it's going to make that messaging that we talked about land with the right potential partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is
So
so
that's
important.
the next piece.
Yeah. That's really important.
Go ahead.
No, that's, both of these are, I'm like, so many things are going off in my brain and I'm thinking, yes, this is what I tell women all the time. You have to get clear on what it is that you desire and what your intention is, even when you get on a dating app. And so to just hear that from someone who is an expert in branding and positioning yourself in a certain way for people to view you the way you want to be viewed, it's just ringing a lot of bells. I know a lot of women that listen and are in my containers are going to be like, it makes sense. It all makes sense now.
It does. And once you can really nail those two things, there's two other pieces to the puzzle. The next one is authority. So you may be thinking, well, what does authority have anything to do with me finding a partner? Well, authority is what builds trust and credibility. And so what I mean by authority is that you say what you mean and you mean what you say and you don't say it mean. You are drawing a line in the sand of, this is who I am and this is not who I am. This is what I believe and this is not what I believe. This is what I agree with and this is what I don't agree with. So this is where we have to, what I say, if any of my Real Housewives fans out there know who Lisa Rinna is, she would always say, own it. Own who you are, even if people don't like it. Own who you are, even if people don't understand it. Own who you are, even if people are going to judge you. That's where authority comes in. Because what happens when you do that and when you really own, this is who I am and this is what matters to me and this is why it matters to me, not only does it build that trust and credibility, but it also allows you to attract the people that align with that. And it also allows you to repel those that don't. Yeah. And so this really allows for strong positioning backed with a clear messaging. It's going to establish your authority and what it is that you believe in, what it is that you want out of life, what kind of partner that you want. And then once you really allow yourself to do that, then the next piece is visibility. If you don't allow yourself to be seen and heard, even the best messaging, the best profile, the best whatever it is won't be seen by people because they're not seeing it. You won't actually get what you want because people aren't seeing it. So the visibility of you actively putting yourself in the path of opportunity of what it is that you want will amplify everything else that I said above.
So good. I feel like all four of these steps, every single woman that follows me and is in my container and all of my coaching containers, they need to hear it
Mm,
because you even touched on, okay, now that you have created this authority, you've created this visibility, you're allowing yourself the space and the time to really be seen as who you are. You also, in a lot of ways, you have to do the work. You have to
yeah,
show up for it. It's like you can have a
yeah,
dating app, but if you're not on it and you're not active or you're not going on dates, then it doesn't matter. You have to get
right.
yourself out there and be seen.
You do. And you have to just get so clear on what that means to you,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
for some people that might be, being really, assertive and intentional with the dating apps. With somebody else that may be, going to places, networking events or churches or just places that maybe they wouldn't normally go to, that they're just like, I've got to change this up because what I have been doing isn't working and I'm probably playing small here. So what
Hmm.
can I do to kind of get a little bit out of my comfort zone to allow myself to be seen in ways that I haven't been seen? And so I think that that's a big key of like really rooting into what does that mean to you? What would
Yeah.
visibility mean to you in a way in which is not this safe way of continuing to do what it is that you've always done?
Yeah. So beautiful. So many incredible takeaways. Ladies, let's talk about something we don't hear enough about: options. For years, I thought that love, marriage, and babies had to happen on a set timeline. But here's the truth: your timeline, it's yours to create. And that is why I have made the decision to freeze my eggs with Tennessee Fertility Institute, because having choices is power. Whether you're focusing on your career, waiting for the right partner, or simply want to give yourself peace of mind, fertility preservation lets you take control of your future on your terms. If you have ever wondered if egg freezing is right for you, this is your sign. Tennessee Fertility Institute makes the process simple, supportive, and designed for you. You can book your free consult today at tnfertility.com/contact us. Again, that is tnfertility.com/contact us, because your future deserves options. I'm curious to know, and this is kind of a sidebar question. This was selfishly a question that I was asking for myself earlier. You've built such a beautiful career and you have so much visibility. And with your husband being an actor, it sounds like he's in that space too. How do you both manage making time for family and kids? And in a way, what tools do you use to turn off that visibility to be able to connect with one another, to make sure that your partnership is really rooted in intimacy and connection and safety?
Mm. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is that this whole idea of, from at least for me, for work-life balance, it's just a crock of crap and it
Yeah, it
doesn't
really is.
exist. For me, I started my business when my son was 9 months old. And so what has really helped me with that balance, if it exists, is boundaries.
Mm,
And because I didn't have a choice. He was so young when I started what I have now. And in that phase, especially, like I was, you have to put in all the hours. Like I would be working after he went to bed at night and, all of that stuff that I was trying to accomplish for myself, as well as showing up as a loving wife and partner to my husband. And so it's the boundaries of really having structure in my day, really knowing that when I'm on for work, I'm on for work. When I'm off, I really try to be as present with my husband and my children as much as possible. Another thing that my husband and I do, I mean, we're 11 years in, like you got to keep the fire alive, and we really just try to take time for ourselves throughout the year. I've always admired the couples that get to do these like date nights every week. Like we have friends that are like, every Thursday we just have this set in stone date night. And I'm like, okay, that's too, like, that would just never work for us. Like we
yeah.
just don't, that's just not going to happen. But what can happen is that we will check in with each other to be like, hey, do we need to like just get some time together? So whether
Yeah.
that's going, on a weekend trip to get away because we need to reconnect, whether that is going to dinner, whether that's, my husband, we both work from home when he's not on set. So he'll come up and he'll make me lunch and he'll just sit here with me and we'll talk for 10 minutes and catch up and check in. It's those little things that you don't think really matter. It's like the day-to-day mundane moments, the day-to-day things that you don't think matter, I think over time is what constitutes as being such an integral part of what keeps our unit together and what honestly keeps us wanting to stay together. I think just from going through a divorce before, people go through divorces when they don't want to be together anymore. I mean, essentially, like that's no matter what happened. One person has decided, I don't want to be here anymore. and whatever got them to that place, right? Or both. And I think that my thing with my husband has always been like, I don't need him, but I want him.
Yeah.
And what do I need to intentionally and actively do to continue to want him?
Yeah.
Because I don't need him to survive. I have me. Like, I'm okay, but I want him.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I need to do to want him? What do I need to do to like him? And I'll be honest with you, like, it's not all like, I may like him at breakfast and hate him at lunch and then like him again at dinner. Like it's a marriage. But those are the key components of the intentionality of how I have to show up in the unit to be able to keep it healthy. When it comes to intimacy, physical intimacy is very important. Being 40 years old, having, starting to go through the hormones and all of that fun stuff that we get to go through, in order for me to feel like I want to be intimate, there's certain things that I have to do to take care of my body, to move my body, to get endorphins moving, to not have stagnant energy that I didn't have to do 10 years ago.
Right.
So whether that means going for a walk, whether that means, doing Pilates a couple of times a week, whether that means getting my hormones checked and then telling me, hey, Julie, you got no testosterone at all. So maybe we should get you some, it's like what I need to do to take care of myself so I can actively participate in this thing called marriage that I do want to be in. Mm-hmm. And so to me, like those are just some of the mundane, everyday things that I do, because I can't control my husband and I can't even control my kids to some degree, but I can control me and how I show up in the relationship.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I really focus on. And especially because I have two young kids. So I've got a 4-year-old and I have an 11-year-old, and they need lots of mommy and lots of daddy. Mm-hmm. And we get pulled so much on top of having our own spiritual practices and business practices and social life and all of those things. But, our family unit comes first. We have that. We're in alignment there. Our children come second after we're okay with one another and we're in alignment there. I think that's another thing for us that's worked, is that we don't put our kids first, because if we put our kids first, that means we're not putting each other first.
Exactly.
And we can't put our kids first if we're not okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we really make sure to check in there. And then make sure that we can be there for the kids. And then everything else is just like, it's either noise or it's cherry on top.
Right.
So having those boundaries with just my mundane, how I show up in my own life and show up for the other people in my own life is what compounds the results that I get and the happiness that I get and the contentment that I get and the joy that I get and the gratitude that I get in my marriage, knowing that, we're 11 years in and that honeymoon phase ended a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so powerful too. And what I love about what you just talked about too is giving people permission to create boundaries in the way that works for them. In their relationship.
I mean, that's saved my marriage, is letting people be who they are.
Right. Exactly. And also not feeling like, because I'm in the same boat, you hear about people that say, well, on Sunday nights, we sit down and we answer these 4 questions. Well, that doesn't really work when you have a 2.5 and a 4-year-old that are running around
Right.
And by the time they go to bed, all you want to do is go to sleep
Go to sleep.
because
I'm
you're
like, don't look
exhausted,
at me.
right?
Don't touch me. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so being able to figure out like what are those boundaries for you again, whether you're in relationship or not.
Mm-hmm.
Whether even if you're single, like how are you really creating those boundaries to be able to pour into yourself
Mm-hmm.
outside of being visible and being on the apps and doing the work that you're immersed in? Like, what does it look like to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, regardless of your age and whether you're in a relationship or not, I think is so vital.
It is. And I remember after my divorce, before I met my husband, I was in therapy. And I remember my therapist at the time, she asked me, she was like, I want you to make a list of like everything that you want out of this dream partner,
Yeah.
right? From like how
Yeah.
they take care of themselves to how they show up in the world
Right.
to how they give back to, do they take care of mind, body, and spirit, like everything. And I made this whole list, right? She asked me to do it the week before, made the list, came back that next week. She looked at it, she read it, she goes, okay, that's great. Now go be that.
Exactly.
Just like, go be
Yeah.
that, go be that in the world. And it's true. And it's really going back to what you're saying of like, in order for me to get what I want, the visibility, the messaging, like what, all of that really comes back to you really going and being in the world, what it is that you say that you want to get back.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's such a powerful exercise. The women that come inside of my coaching containers, it's one of the very first things I have them do. I call it the mirror exercise.
Yep.
All the things that I want and then flip it. Am I doing that for myself? So it's super powerful if you're listening. And it's interesting. I wish we could play this. I wish we could reverse this interview and have people hear that and then go into the visibility piece, because you really do need to get clear on, are you showing up and are you being those things in the world so that you can attract the things that you really deeply desire. So Julie, you have a training called the Visibility Accelerator Training. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I know that some people who are listening are going to want to come into your world and hear more and experience more about what it is that you have to offer. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this is great for anybody that, and obviously for the work that I do look through it through the business lens, but this is great for anyone who needs to effectively articulate their message so that they can get what they want. So whether that's to sell something, to influence something, to pitch something, like whatever that is, we go through some very simple yet powerful messaging frameworks to help you better refine and articulate your message so that you can get that results that you're desiring. And I use it through the lens of selling products and services. So for anybody out there that whether maybe you're a coach or you're a consultant or you're a service provider of some kind, and you need to and want to better understand how to get your voice, your gift, your brilliance out into the world, this very quick 60-minute training will be a great jumping off point to start that implementation.
I love it. And I just have to sing your praises for a moment, because I purchased one of your courses last year about positioning yourself for brand deals.
Yeah.
And after your training landed the largest brand deal, we had never had we had never really gone after brand deals because I've always just been in the service industry. And we had the podcast and we have our, the brand that is growing. And so I had my team really dive into your course, and we ended up booking one of the largest brand deals that we've had to date. So I just want to sing your praises. Thank you so much for the work that you're
so
doing
welcome.
in the world.
Yes, my pitch course is wonderful specifically for that. If someone's wanting to get brand partnerships. And I love that, because I love when I hear from people that are like, I didn't really think that I could get brand deals, or it wasn't something that like we really focused on. And then I learned how to pitch and the lens of how you teach it. And then I went and I like blew my own dang mind. So I love that so much. And it really goes back to show like pitching is just another form of how you are messaging yourself. And so it really is powerful. It's simple. It doesn't have to be complex, but it's just all of these, what I think are really important core components for us to share our gifts with the world.
Yeah.
So I love that happened. I remember when your team reached out, and I love to hear that you had some success with it.
Yeah, we definitely did. And we'll make sure to link all of this in the show notes below. So if you're listening and you want access to the Visibility Accelerator, you can have access to that. We'll also list below the link for the pitch course too.
Yeah.
One last question, and I always ask this question to every guest that comes on the Align Live podcast. I'm curious to know your answer. When you hear the words aligned love, what does that mean to you?
Aligned love, to me, what's coming up as I think about that is self-love.
Mm,
Is really just giving yourself that gift to love yourself unconditionally. That's alignment to me.
mm. Yeah, which really ties into everything we've talked about
Mm-hmm.
today, which I love so much. Julie, where can people find you? If they're interested in coming into your world, where's the best place?
Yeah, so if you want to come into my world, well, first, as Lauren mentioned, there's going to be some links in the show notes, so definitely check those out. Also, if you're a podcast listener, which you are, and you love to listen to podcasts, and maybe you are a coach or a service provider or a consultant, those are really the women that I serve. You can head on over to the Influencer Podcast. It is a podcast that I've had since 2017. Every Wednesday, I release an episode. So you can dive into more of my genius and what I help people do there. I spend the majority of my time on Instagram. So you can find me there at Jules, Juls, Solomon, Solomon.
Awesome. Julie, thank you so much for showing up and sharing your heart with us and sharing a little bit too about the inside of your world and your relationships. I look forward to having you on the show again soon, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you.
That wraps up today's episode of the Aligned Love podcast. One thing that would really help me and the other new potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment wherever you tune in and listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on Instagram at Lauren Zoeller, and please share this podcast with anyone who you think may enjoy it. Until next episode, remember, every transformation begins with one moment of awareness, and I hope today has been yours. I'll see you next time.